Chances are, this book looks familiar to you. But what you may not know is that this very book is one of the biggest reasons why romance novels are fiction's highest grossing genre in all of books. In a world where witches defy love's boundaries, mysterious mentors shape your fate, and dragons await to take you from here to fro, the blend of romance and fantasy provides readers with a surreal experience that only can be enjoyed using suspension of disbelief. And once booktok caught word of it, it was game over. Romantasy became inescapable. Young Gravy's reading acotar at his concerts, Alona Mayer can't stop recommending it to her friends, Alex Cooper is raving about it, and Margot Robbie is eager to bring the series to life on TV. Young girls are loving it, moms are loving it, and boyfriends are required to read it too. Publishers like Bloomsbury have seen a massive surge in sales since the genre's rise. It's even breathed new life into bookstores. Specialty stores focused on romance and fantasy have popped up, with some experiencing hour-long lines at their grand openings. A big part of its success can be attributed to one key factor: it captured the attention of women, a demographic often overlooked by traditional fantasy genres. The girlies were going feral, and it made Romantasy a gold mine. Rebecca Yarros, one of the genre's top authors, sold 2.7 million copies of Onyx Storm within its first week in January 2025, making it the fastest selling adult novel in 2 decades. So what's going on here? What's behind this sudden fantastical explosion in the last couple of years? Witches, spells, and dark brooding princes are a far cry from the self-help books that dominated bookshelves just a few years ago. In a world of iPad kids, ChatGPT, and DoorDash, seems like people just want things to be simple and easy. But this doesn't scream simple or easy. I can't help but think that the absolute explosion of this specific genre at this specific time signals a much larger shift in the nation's psychology and consumer behavior. So what is it about Romantasy that made such a huge impact on both the literary world and the broader economy? What does it reveal about the future direction of consumer culture? And whose head is that? To understand the growth of Romantasy, we first have to go back to its roots, or in this case, the bedroom. Most successful authors got their start by self-publishing. Imagine this: it's the early days of the pandemic and you're stuck in your room craving a creative escape. So you decide to create an account on Wattpad. It feels like the perfect place to share your writing, an open platform where anyone can post their stories, readers can connect directly with authors, and word of mouth spreads like wildfire. Before long, your consistent posting starts to pay off as your fan base grows. One reader tells a friend about your story, and then another, and that's where the magic happens. Next thing you know, you and other Romantasy authors are selling out on Amazon, your stories are circulating on booktok, and the community is buzzing. And publishers are confused as hell. If the explosion of fan fiction and self-publishing platforms like Wattpad, Amazon, Kindle Direct Publishing, and Patreon provides writers with immediate feedback and a built-in audience, what's the need for a publishing house? By this point, authors have fully democratized the literary landscape, enabling authors to bypass traditional publishing gatekeepers. For one of the first times in history, writers are the ones holding the reins, and just like that, Romantasy is no longer a niche, it became a global phenomenon. One key thing to understand about Romantasy is that most of these books weren't created with profit in mind. Many were written by passionate young people who couldn't resist engaging with a community of fellow writers and readers. In other words, these books thrived on organic promotion and the buzz of a niche community, something no ad agency could ever buy. Seeing the rising demand, traditional publishers started to adapt. In 2023, publishers and publishing houses went on the hunt for the next big Romantasy novel, throwing money at authors left and right like it was Mardi Gras, and it paid off. Before long, publishers were snapping up successful self-published Romantasy titles, offering authors broader distribution and professional support. Bloomsbury Publishing saw a 102% increase in sales of Sarah J. Maas's books over just 6 months. Penguin Random House also reported a significant boost in revenue from the genre. And publishers even went so far as to create dedicated imprints, distinct brands or divisions within a larger publishing house, specifically for Romantasy readers, aiming to further capitalize on the genre's popularity. But what seemed like a win for writers soon brought along its own set of challenges. Readers seemed to feel slightly worn out by the genre. With so much similar content flooding the market, audiences are experiencing a little bit of engagement fatigue. And of course, once something becomes too big for their liking, the internet is quick to start complaining about it, but we'll dive into that a little later. The meteoric rise of democratized publishing mirrors the current state of most industries, especially the creator economy as a whole. For one of the first times, creators now hold significant power over corporations. The secret, their ability to engage directly with and influence massive audiences. And as a result, corporations are scrambling to find ways to get in on the action. Creator-led brands are popping up everywhere. Modern-day consumers are more interested in showing their support for people rather than profit. Ironically, this creator-driven economy is now worth over $250 billion globally, driven by revenue from platforms like YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Patreon, and more. Brands are finally recognizing the massive influence of creators, and the savvy ones have figured out how to harness it effectively. Companies like Loewe and Fenty Beauty are now using employee-generated content to offer authentic insights, blurring the lines between traditional corporate marketing and creator-driven promotion. The need for community has never been more powerful. In recent years, there has been a noticeable increase in individuals seeking community and connection, driven by feelings of isolation and the complexities of digital interactions. A 2024 survey by America's Promise Alliance found that approximately 69% of young people feel the nation is more divided than ever, with only 23% trusting adults in their communities. This sentiment highlights growing societal fragmentation and a yearning for genuine social connection. But just like everything that goes up, it must come down. And we're already seeing an oversaturation and shifting brand investments beginning to reshape the landscape for creators. The vast number of creators has made it difficult for this many to stand out. Everyone's got a friend from high school with an iPhone and a dream. And this oversaturation has resulted in a winner-takes-all scenario where a small fraction of creators capture the majority of attention and income, leaving many struggling to gain visibility and monetize their content. This is known as the power law of the internet, which suggests that 90% of online success and attention is concentrated in the hands of just 10% of creators or platforms. A new trend is emerging where brands are moving away from micro and nano influencers and focusing on celebrities and mega influencers. This shift is driven by the rising cost of influencer marketing and the desire to reach larger audiences. Additionally, brands are growing frustrated with the difficulty of tracking the success of their influencer marketing efforts, and this mirrors what's happening in the romantasy genre as well. While the rise of self-publishing has opened new avenues for authors, it also makes it more difficult for individual works to stand out. Authors often invest significant resources in editing, cover design, and marketing to compete in a crowded market. With the rise of social media and content creation platforms, the number of creators has ballooned, creating an environment where standing out becomes harder than ever. Audiences are bombarded with similar content, which results in engagement fatigue and lower returns for creators. As more authors and influencers enter the space, there's less room for innovation, and the sheer volume of content leads to a diluted experience for consumers. It's a tale as old as time. Thing is cool, but not popular, so people support it. Thing starts to get cooler and more popular. Thing explodes in support. Thing becomes too popular for people's liking, and Thing meets its demise. But what's next in this consumption pattern? Ironically, one of the key economic indicators of romantasy isn't economic at all. The genre's rapid growth has highlighted shifts in media consumption since peak COVID, with the most revealing aspect being the content of the stories themselves. Fantasy is a form of escapism. The rise of romantasy reflects a collective longing for escape, especially after the pandemic and growing societal stress. Instead of facing harsh realities, readers turn to fiction for refuge, and romantasy offers not only an escape, but also a sense of agency, where characters overcome challenges, find their love, and shape their destinies, offering readers hope amid uncertainty. Romantasy stories are infamous for concluding in happy endings, both literally and romantically. Given the current circumstances, it's no wonder that society is seeking an escape from reality. The price for a dozen eggs has reached $10 in some places. A gallon of milk costs over $4, and the annual inflation rate stands at 2.8%. We're also seeing this desire to escape mirrored by the rise of religion. During the mid-20th century, atheism was a rising force. It seemed that removing oneself from religion was a trendy thing to do. However, since 2020, we've witnessed a dramatic shift. Bible sales have risen significantly from about 9.7 million sold in 2019 to 13.7 million in 2024. Churches are multiplying, and thanking God in your acceptance speech is so back. Escapism is also evident in the rise of podcasts and audiobooks, the popularity of travel and staycations, and the growth of online communities and fan culture, with countless other trends falling into this category. The common thread tying all these trends together is clear. Society is looking for an idealized version of reality to escape the political and economic mess that a lot of us find ourselves in. The future of consumer behavior is filled with uncertainty. After all, who could have predicted that romantasy would become the next big thing? With technology and AI continuing to take center stage, we're venturing venturing into uncharted waters where human behavior is more unpredictable than ever before. We can, however, make a solid hypothesis based on past cycles where society has faced significant societal, economic, and political upheaval. What we do know is that niche, personalized markets are likely to keep thriving. The rise of Romantasy, fueled by platforms like BookTok and self-publishing, points to a future where consumers are increasingly drawn to specialized genres that align with their unique identities and preferences. However, this doesn't guarantee these markets will have true staying power. Genres and trends in entertainment move at the speed of light. Remember when rom-coms were great and dominated Hollywood? Now we haven't had a good one since How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. Who knows if Romantasy has true staying power? But so far, it looks like the economic wheels will continue to turn. Fourth Wing, one of Romantasy's most popular series, is being developed into a TV show, and I'm curious to see if the world building around it will expand like the Harry Potter books that has a multi-billion empire built around it, including theme parks and whatnot, or the Hunger Games that have gotten multiple movie spin-offs, or if it was simply a moment in time. So does Romantasy have lasting appeal, or were we all just bored, starved for touch, and craving human connection? I guess time will tell, but in the meantime, I've got a lot of reading to do.